guys, this is Eric Weingart with Weingart Racing with another video. This one's a special announcement video, and before I get to some of the announcements, let me tell you thanks for all the guys who have subscribed and girls. I know there's a few out there that are. The channel started in April, and really I just started this up more for fun. And what fun is, I really just want to document some of the stuff that went on here. I really didn't think it would take off at all. I thought, well, at least I'll have some visual record. Really, it was more for my son, because right now he's not into cars, but I figured at some point he might be. And you know, we change phones constantly, so you most likely lose a video. So I thought I'll just put it on YouTube, and I had no idea it would take off like it has. And I appreciate all the subscribers that have subscribed. I actually feel somewhat sorry for you because you had to listen to me for all these videos. And anyway, thanks again for all that. And I'll make sure I say this before this, but hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a safe and Happy New Year. But here's your special announcements that maybe you wasn't aware of. I have been doing full-time head porting for at least the last 2 months and didn't even say anything. For those who are like, what? What do you mean? Some of you know I was a teacher, and that's what you still think I do. I taught 4th grade for 16 years. And if you thought maybe what I'm doing is good at cylinder heads, I was far better as a teacher. I will say God gave me that talent, and I did walk away from that. If you want to see more about it, though, you're more than welcome to watch. You could just Google my name, Leaves Teaching, and because Vice News interviewed me, and they were on HBO, so yeah, I guess I was on HBO. The CBS, the national one, the Sunday morning, CBS Sunday morning deal interviewed me as well, and I was on that, and then also the local one. But anyway, that was about 4 years ago. And for the last 4 years, I was working at a place that built natural gas compressor skids. And in case you're wondering what I actually did there, was instrumentation electrical. But really all it really was not make the job sound simple. I take pieces of stainless steel tubing, and we would connect devices using that, because they'd use natural gas to activate valves and whatnot. And what we'd have to do is take a piece of stainless steel tubing, 3/8, ½ inch, 3/4, 1 inch, and bend them to make them go where they had to go. And some of the designs were pretty elaborate. So you might have like 12 lines come together and they go and flare out to go to each individual thing. It was pretty neat, very hard to do, and you had to have a brain for it. Anyway, I'm like, so what's this do with head porting? I became official, started paying taxes on this business and created this really in 2008. I was always doing it as part-time. So in other words, you get done teaching, I'd come home, spend some time with the family, and then I'd come out here and work till really late. And I did that for several years, and that's how it's been up until this year. And it sounds like, well, you did part-time, you really weren't doing that many. There are so many more people that were professional head porters that didn't put out as much product as I did at Or Manifolds. And I'm not knocking them, I'm telling you, I did quite a bit. So the amount of hours they spent and the amount of hours I spent was probably pretty comparable. The only difference is they had free time to go do other stuff that I didn't have. So one thing I'm trying to get at is it's full time. So if you look at my website, man, your hours look really weird. I could have changed it and I just didn't, because it gave me more time to grind without people trying to call and say, hey, what's going on? So anyway, that's one announcement, but here's the other one. I'm gonna give you one Christmas special video. You can think of it as your present. And it is a technical one. It's not about Christmas at all. One technical video that will be dropped on Christmas. And I'm only putting it out because it's not all that stunning, but if you get a chance to pause and look at it, it'll give you a bunch of different stuff. Some really cool things. I think some of you will really appreciate it. But anyway, look for that video on Christmas. But after that, I'm not going to do any more videos until after the new year. And the reason why is there is so much stuff out here to get done. I really don't have time. I mean, right now it's 11:15 and I'm filming at night, and I'm filming this. The last 2 nights have been up to almost 2 o'clock, and for the most part, not even going to bed before midnight from being out here. And this is getting up at 9 in the morning just to start all over. So it's I shouldn't say getting up. I mean getting in the shop at 9. So it's becoming really long days. I need to catch up. Is what I'm trying to say. So for some of you, you're like, finally, I don't have to see a notification from one of your videos popping up. Yeah. However, when I'm saying this, though, I do want this. If there's something you want to see, like, can you do this? Or something that you like, I'd like to see you do this. put it in the comments and I'll read it. And I'll try my best to make those happen. Of course, there's some things I just can't do. Like you might ask, hey, can you port a Buick nail head? No, one, because it's cast iron, and two, I couldn't get a hold of that head. I have before in the past. But anyway, if there's something you really want to see, post it in there. Now, for those that have watched long enough, you know the internet port heads, that video series, well, that will be back. I'm working really hard to get a couple heads going, and it looked like what I'm trying to get is 2 different small block Chevy heads. And you're like, oh, I know, but there's more than one because I'm going to get to the point. Today I bought a set of LS 706 heads, 75 bucks by the way, and I'm going to do some porting work with that, and you guys can tell me what you'd like to see done with those and whatnot. And I'm trying really hard to get a small block Ford Windsor head as well. So there's that. And then if I'm super lucky, I'll get a 440 Mopar head because I know that's been asked for several times. Now you might be like, well, when will we ever get it? Chances are I'm gonna do one every now and then. So you won't see a big old long series of nothing but small block Chevy or the big old long series of LS. Instead, you'll see the internet ports heads, and it's the 440 Mopar maybe this week. And then the next week it might be the Ford. So you guys could hopefully get a chance to see everything instead of waiting like months before yours ever shows up. In the meantime, there's a bunch of other things happening too. For this bench, I ordered a swirl meter. And for those that don't know what that is, it's a little blade that's on the bottom that would sit right here. And what it's doing is measuring the air, how the air is spinning through the bore. I've never had one before. Hopefully it will give me more information. I don't know, and I'll give my opinions on this when we get there, but I don't know how that's gonna affect my porting so much per se, but we'll see. It'll give more information to you guys. That's coming. Of course, I still have the Gen 3 Hemi plate has not come in for me to flow ahead on, nor the Ford FE plate to flow ahead on hasn't come in either. Those are also coming. Also, I've got, I'm still gonna flow those AFR 305s, I've got 2 sets, and see how much difference there is, you know, when you have a cast head, how much difference is between each other ports per head. So that's coming too. Plus just a bunch of other stuff. It works like the videos pretty much go out like my brain thinks and it follows a thread. So anyway, there's that. That pretty much takes care of the announcements, except for look for one more video on Christmas, and after that you won't see me again until, I don't know what the calendar looks like. All I do is spend time out here, but after the 1st. So if you're like, that's all I cared about was announcements, you could stop here. But I wanted to give one little kind of a Christmas type of bonus, like something in the Christmas spirit type of thing. And that's this. So it's a small story, and I'll try to make it really small. It goes with this guy. Whenever I was younger, and the Camaro was sitting right here, it was my first car. My dad at first, he liked me working on it, but then he got annoyed because I wouldn't stop working on it. And anyway, the car itself was nothing but frustrations and learnings, and that's what I liked about it. But my parents and others hated it for that. What I mean is, I built the 350 for it, and it ran really good, but not good enough. This is back with the flat tappet days for the camshafts. I kept changing camshafts or flattening camshafts, and then the first motor I went through seven flat tappet camshafts. And I was just trying out different things. Well, if you're 16 and you're taking up your parents' driveway because they didn't have a garage, I mean they do, but it's one car, you couldn't fit in there. If you're in their driveway taking apart a car and making a mess, every couple of weeks, your parents eventually are going to get frustrated. And especially if the car breaks down after you've worked on it, they're going to get more frustrated. And anyway, during that point, as the car is always breaking down, my parents' love for me working on the car, it started to really wane. And anyway, I was getting kind of frustrated too because I wasn't trying to break the car, and I was actually making it go faster, but my mom said, you just can't leave well enough alone. And truthfully, the car was just fine. But I was like, I wonder if I put this different camshaft in it, or if I try this, what will happen? And, there was learning curves in between. Well, anyway, I mentioned this because the car had broke. At this point, I'd made it to college, and Enid is about 2 hours from where Weatherford, Oklahoma is, and that's where I went to college at Southwestern Oklahoma State University. Anyway, it was a Thanksgiving day and the car was running perfect. So I drove home from college with the car. And the car was running perfect. I was like, you know what? I bought a brand new camshaft. It was just slightly bigger than the other one. I was like, I want to see what this does. So on Thanksgiving, so we got done eating, I go out there and change the camshaft in the car the whole day, of course, because it's quite a process for those who've ever done it. And anyway, just by myself too. My dad's not helping me anymore at the car at all. So I get it all together, break in the camshaft, which also annoys the neighbors immensely because they had glass packs and it was super annoying. And the car breaks down. So anyway, Thanksgiving break gets over. Car seems like it's running fine. I'm gonna drive back to Weatherford 2.5 hours. It breaks down like an hour or so away from Enid. And so it's like the halfway point, an hour from Weatherford. This is before cell phones too. So, I mean, they were there, but no one, they existed, but no one had them. Like they were big old bricks, or no one had them. It wasn't easily accessible. Only the richer people had them. I never had them. So anyway, it was like a long walk. So I'm walking down the highway because the car's broke. I have no idea what to do. It broke the rocker arms. I have no one else to deal with. What else was going on with it? It somehow, I think it flattened another camshaft low, broke some rockers, broke a couple push rods. It wasn't happy. Anyway, so I have to walk all the way to go get the phone to call my dad. And by the time I get someplace, the highway patrolman picks me up and makes, before you think it's bad. This is back when I never got mad at the police officers, even when they pulled me over for speeding and stuff. And now I see them all the time, and people are always mad because I pulled me over because I was going 120. Like, well, yeah, you were going 120. I mean, it came with the game, you know what I mean? So anyway, the highway patrolman picked me up just to take me to go make a phone call. And so I wake up my dad, of course, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. He is pissed, rightfully so. So anyway, that all gets settled. And that following weekend, I came back home to work on the car again. And my mom and dad don't want to talk to me. They're so angry with me. Why I work on the car? You could have just left it alone, and this would have happened. It was a huge ordeal. And this is where the person I'm talking about comes into play. There's a guy at the end of our block. His nickname's Popeye. His real name's Randy. I've talked about him before in the other video, but I want to tell you this person, and he's the reason for this part of the Christmas story. Anytime you ever saw him, he had a smile, okay? And occasionally you're going to see people like this through your life, and you're going to be like, wow, but you don't realize how good they are until you get away from that. You don't see it as often, but he always had a smile. He was always happy. And it wasn't like he had something super to be happy about. I mean, he worked really hard. I told you before in a previous video, my dad got injured and no one place would hire him because he had one busted up arm. And he hired him to help him. And you might say, well, what did Popeye do? He just had a lawn company. Now, I say that because a lot of people make quite a bit of money now on lawn companies. They have lawn companies that do really well. His lawn company was him and his sons. And back in those days, you really didn't make that much money off of mowing yards. And the reason why is because people would not pay the prices that they're paying now for someone to mow their yard because they just do it themselves. It was a different time. People now have the luxury of like paying people to do stuff instead of them doing it themselves, which back then it just didn't happen. So the point being is, you didn't make a lot of money back then mowing yards, and it was hard work, and hard work. And he'd only work in the summer, and his wife stayed home, and he saved all that money, which takes a lot of fortitude to save money to use for the rest of the winter until you can start mowing again. So he hired my dad on, which was a huge thing for us. So I always appreciate him for that because we really would have been homeless without him. So anyway, always got a smile on my face, always happy as could be. I'm out there with the car and it's broke down, and now we're in the street. And everybody thinks that the car is a piece of junk. It's slow, which it was, but it's a piece of junk and you should just get rid of it. So here I am working on the car, and Popeye comes rolling down in his truck and he stops. I'm like, oh great, just someone else is ragging on about the car being broke down again. And he got a smile on his face, rolled down the nose, hey, what's going on? You know, and he's talking to me and he goes, I said, well, I broke it again. put a bigger camshaft in, and I didn't like it. He goes, oh, that's just the nature of the thing. And I can't remember the exact words that he had said, but he's like, don't you give up. You just stick with it. I can see it in your heart. You're just going to work through it. You just keep trying, and you'll get it. And I mention that because to him, the statement was so small. I'm sure he didn't think two things about it. But at that point, those were the words I needed to hear. Because my parents were so frustrated with me. I was, mad at myself. Things weren't going right. And all I needed was that. Honestly, it changed things. So I was like, you know what? He's right. You just got to trust myself and fix things. And of course, you see how things have gotten now. So you might go, what does this got to do with Christmas? There are people in your lives right now that will say something small that will make a huge impact in your life. Mine was just a guy that helped us out and saw me working on the car and took 5 seconds out of his day to drive his truck down the road as he was going to the store, just to say those few words that don't give up. You just keep trying. I know if you keep working at it, it'll make a difference. Those small words made such a huge impact. So you on Christmas, here you are surrounded by your family and friends, I hope. And just remember, it could be something so small that they just need to hear that will help them out. That's my Christmas story. So anyway, you guys stay safe. Have a Merry Christmas. And thanks for watching the channel. Keep watching. I'm not making a fortune off this, but I've made enough to take my wife out to eat at least once. And I did get the flow meter with that. So I appreciate all of you guys. I really do. And just be safe. You guys take care.